Welcome back. So let me bring you up to speed with what's happening with the foreplane and the elevator. I had to think about this over the weekend and decided I wanted to actually just try out this elevator on the rollers there just to see how it was going to work. I was pretty convinced that I'd be able to fix up the bell cranks if this would actually work, because this was always going to be a question whether or not the roller hinge mechanism would bind up under load. So as you can see here, I've got a couple of bits of old heavy cast iron manifolds there to add some weight, and I've hooked up the linkages to the bell cranks there just by putting them sort of up above the spar. And as you can see there, it does actually rotate there with the weight on it. Now the weight is evenly distributed on both of the different rollers on each of the hinges. And if I move it using the actuator, you can see I am able to move it, but it does take quite a lot of effort and a lot more than it would take without having any load on there. And as you can see here, when I move that actuator there, I'm actually putting in quite a lot of force, and that's just not ideal. So it's looking like this is not going to be a way of solving this. So more on that in a minute. Meanwhile, here's Jeff just closing out a little opening there that was in front of the spade that sort of hangs out from the bottom of one of the ailerons. And he's just putting a bit of foam in there to close that out and just bonding it into place. And I believe he came back and maybe he put some carbon on it. I can't remember. I didn't bother or didn't get a chance to actually go and look. But there you can see how he's just sort of blocked that off. And here's Devon working on smoothing out those main doors there for the gear where the hinges were bonded on, those carbon hinges, and they were faired out with some micro, so he's just cleaning that up. So back on the elevator, so this was always going to be a question whether or not these roller hinges would work. Obviously they work for flap designs because the Cessnas have them for their flaps. And as a flap they work without any problem at all, and I was hoping that we'd be able to get them to work like this because obviously it's a much lower drag solution without having any hangers running down there or hanging down. But anyway, as you can see, it works fine there when it's not loaded up. Actuates without any problem, and it's actually rolling fairly smoothly. And you can see I've just put the bell cranks there on the outside of the hinge points where they would be, so I can actuate it. And I would have been able to fix those bell cranks there, just sort of a couple of different solutions, some forks and some offsetting, and that would have actually made it work. But as you can see, it works smoothly like that, but the minute you actually go and put any sort of load on it that's uneven, like if you sort of load up the trailing edge of the elevator, then it becomes almost impossible to move. And it just sort of binds up. So you can see Jeff there, I'm just moving it easily right there, and then Jeff's just going to put a little bit of force on the trailing edge there, and I mean literally I can't even move it. It just jams up that readily. So anyway, as I said, it was going to always be an experiment, and unfortunately it's not going to work out, so we're going to have to go with the regular hangers that I mentioned in the last video. So moving on, there's plenty of other projects that need to be done, and so I spent some time on Monday afternoon putting these bulkhead pass-throughs in there for the antennas, and these are for the 2Com and the transponder and also the wireless hotspot that we're going to be able to use to hopefully be able to do some live streaming when we got the aircraft flying. And here you can see from underneath there in the nose compartment, that's where they come through there, so they're coming through the pressure bulkhead. And I had to sort of fair them out there so they're not sort of grounded onto the carbon, but I also had to thin it out because those bulkhead pass-throughs will only go through 1/4 of an inch. And meanwhile, Devon's got a little bit more done on the glare shield there. I got the hardware over the weekend, and we got those vent covers in there for the defrost vents, as you can see there underneath. And there's that little grounding plate that we have for the antennas. For the GPS antennas, or ground plane I should say. And I got the holes drilled for the comm antennas, and I haven't put them in yet, but there I've got the transponder antenna in. It's just a basic one that we've got there, just underneath the fuselage in between the main gear. So that one's done, and actually I still got to hook up the connectors for the cable that's already been run in there. And the guys, Devon and Jeff, got the hangers removed, the old roller hangers removed there. And I've actually ordered the material to cut the new one, so that'll be happening soon. And now we're on to Tuesday morning, and because we're switching up the design there for the elevator, Jeff decided to lay up the upper skin again for the one elevator, because that first one we had cut quite large notches in that, so it would not interfere with that roller hanger, where it bonded in to the main spar. So this new one is going to allow us to basically start fresh again and not have an upper skin that has all these notches cut into it, because the new design that we're doing shouldn't have really any notching in the whole elevator, and make it much stronger and more aerodynamic as well. And meanwhile, Devon is progressing now with getting stuff sorted out with the dash, and I'm still working on antenna stuff. So here you can see I've got this base station or base in there for this antenna that is for the wireless hotspot, and that's basically, it just sort of screws on there, and that's going to give us 4G, hopefully a 4G connection from up high, and with any luck we may be able to actually do some live streaming of video while we're flying, and that, which would be really fun for you guys to see that. And now Devon and I are fitting the various parts of the instrument panel and the glare shield just to make sure that it's fitting right after the upholstery has now been added, and there was a few places where we had to make some adjustments just to make it fit right. And I also found, when I was messing with the antennas and putting those in the back, I also found a fuel leak on one of the connectors that went through the bulkhead there, so I've had to drain the tanks and pull all that out, and spent most of the afternoon today messing with that, which is a bit of a pain. Anyway, here's Devon just clearing out a couple more of the holes there for where we had nut plates in there for that center stack, the one that contains the GTN 750. He just finds where the hole is from the back side and just pokes it through with a little needle, and then clears it out with a soldering iron. And Jeff's been working on the rudder stuff, so he put the connectors in here between the two rudder cables, the ones that run back to the cabin and the one that runs out to the rudder, and it's just loose right now because we haven't taken up the tension there in the cabin. And as you can see here, Devon and I have got most of the dash in place, and we just sort of put the seat mounts in there in the center console, and it really starting to look like something. And that the black vinyl was definitely the way to go. It looks really sharp, and we don't have all the hardware and stuff in there. We just wanted to test fit it. It'll be coming back out again, or most of it will be coming back out, because I still got work to do there in the front, with things like brake lines and hooking up the autopilot and things like that. But anyway, I think it's looking pretty good, and I'm pretty happy about doing the black vinyl. As I said, I think it's going to be a much better solution. So that's our update for the first half of this week, and tune in again on Saturday and see what we get up to. I'll be probably working on cutting out those new elevator hangers. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you then.